Hello, everybody. Welcome back to GC 365. It is day 130, and I'm going to get into in just a second why that's a little bit crazy to me, but I am Pastor Haylee. I'm the high school pastor here at our Mill Creek campus, and this is...
I am Dawn, and I'm a leader at the high school encounters.
Yeah, and she actually has a daughter at Encounter, and she's a senior, and I did my very first GC 365 with her, which was day 2. So it seems so crazy that we're all the way day 130. And some of you might recognize Dawn from her name from Facebook because you are so faithful at being on there.
Well, thank you. Yes, I am on there quite often. I love that you guys actually put it online. So when we aren't able to come into class, 365 helps out because you're still part of the group, even though you're not physically there. So I appreciate the fact that it's available.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. We are going to get into our reading for today. We had a little bit of struggle just kind of going through it, if we're being honest.
True.
Sometimes you'll get to that point and I'm like, okay, what am I getting out of this? Which is, again, another reason why I love this, to hear what everybody else gleams from it. But in 1 Samuel 8, what's going on right now is Israel is wanting a king for their nation, and they've been running off of judges running the nation, just following God. But every other surrounding nation has a king, and they want to be like them. And ultimately, God didn't want this for them because having a king would mean that it would be easier to forget that God was their real leader in life. And so as I was looking in my study Bible, I'm so happy. I always suggest that if you don't have a study Bible, you should get one because it helps so much.
Definitely.
And it says in there, our obedience is weak if we ask God to lead our family or personal life, but continue to live by world standards and values. Faith in God must touch all the practical areas of our life. And this reminds me of the series we just had at our Encounter High School. It was called Counterculture. And I challenged our students and us as leaders to still live in today's culture, but represent Jesus while we're living in it. Not to run away from it, not for Jesus to just be present in our family, personal life, but everywhere that we go. And I think that was exactly what God wanted Israel to do, but they didn't. And so my question was kind of like, he ended up giving them a king. And why did he do that? Why did he give them what they wanted? Maybe because he's like, all right, you're going to learn.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, okay, but then I realized, he picked the prettiest one.
Yeah.
And like, why did he pick the prettiest one?
Yeah. No, I thought that was a funny remark too, because it was noted how good looking Saul was.
How beautiful he was.
Yes. Well, that leads us into the next chapter, 9. And this is, at first, I kind of just took it as, okay, are we just reading this to figure out where Samuel and Saul met? What's kind of the point of this? And so I didn't read too much into it. I kind of wanted to keep going on to John. Mm-hmm. But as I was looking back into it, in verse 21, so Samuel has now met Saul, which he was told by God would happen. And he's like, you are going to be a great person or mean so much to the nation of Israel. And Saul replies with, but I'm only from the tribe of Benjamin, the smallest tribe in Israel, and my family is the least important of all families of that tribe. Why are you talking to me like this? And so this reveals that the insecurity that Saul would have and struggle with through his entire reign, leading him to never be a man of God. And so
that self-doubt. He wasn't for sure that he was going to be able to do it. And just knowing that he was going to be the king of all of them, it's just from the beginning, it sounds like he was dooming all of that he was given. Yeah,
especially because he would thought at first that insecurity was just for himself.
Yes, now it's the whole nation.
Yeah.
Because he'll be the king.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think speaking to our own lives, and not that we'll be kings or queens, but sometimes when we receive something from God, we can be so insecure, like, why me? And we have to remember that it could be reflecting onto a group of people.
Definitely.
And to just trust it. And that kind of goes into, like, leadership is a huge thing. And at Gold Creek, we take it so seriously. And so I just want to take the time to talk about what you do for Encounter. First, why did you join Encounter?
Initially, the reason I joined Encounter, it was because knowing that Ashlyn was a senior this year, I just wanted to spend more time with her without embarrassing her, because being around mom is embarrassing. So I figured it could be like just a small side job, hang out with the younger crowd since she was on the older side, and just kind of peek from the side as to what she was doing and who she was hanging out with. Because I would hear about all of these amazing kids, but I would never know who they were. So it's like, okay, here's my chance.
Yes. Yeah, she asked me to be a leader while we were not meeting at that time. And I was like, this woman is going to be great. I know it. But I've now put you with our freshman and sophomore girls. And what is it like to be leading them through different Bible studies or to see them grow?
It has been amazing to watch them grow. They, like we were talking about, just the social media. They have social media that I have no clue what it's all about. And so I'm just hearing them talk about it. It's like, okay. And like you were saying, we were talking about how it influences us. And it was just like, wow, okay, that's not a positive influence. And they were talking about how they had to delete it from their phone because it was leading them in a direction that they did not want to be in. It's like, that was huge because it's like going for them to realize that themselves, as opposed to a parent telling them that this is not the direction you guys should go. So it was kind of nice to actually witness that they were brave enough to say that they needed to get rid of it and lead in the direction that they wanted to follow Jesus in their life. And change that up for something that was more positive and influential in their life. So that was really nice.
Well, and I think it's always so fulfilling to be in a leadership position like that. And I remember you asking like, okay, am I ready for this? Do you think I'm ready for this? And I was like, yes, you are so ready. And I'm throwing you in no matter what. And you know what? You've just had these moments where you're like, okay, I am here. And they do need to have this positive parent leadership because they all have amazing parents.
Yes.
But sometimes, like I've said this to you, sometimes they need to hear it from somebody other than their parents. And so that's good to have that leadership.
Well, and I know that from Ashlyn. I know that she comes to me for a lot of things, but just knowing that she's able to come to another leader is just huge. It's a relief to me that she's able to talk to somebody else as well. So I appreciate all of the fact that she has so many amazing people that she reaches out to, because it's very comforting as a mother and just as a believer that she is taken care of.
Yeah, definitely. And so if you're somebody that's watching and you're a leader here at Gold Creek and you've kind of felt this like, okay, am I in the right spot, God? Am I doing your work? Know that you either have students that are looking up to you, kids, even if you're in like with the 2-year-olds, that might be the thing that they look forward to the most is coming here to church, and that you're doing the right work. And I think that's what Saul needed but never found because he was too afraid. Definitely. But we'll continue into John, so into the New Testament, chapter 6, verses 22 through 42. I love this right now because I'm going through a Bible study called Finding I Am, and it's all about the 7 I am statements that Jesus says. And the very first one is, I am the bread of life. And what it's talking about here, or the reason why Jesus refers to himself as the bread of life, is because in our everyday life, bread is not something we need to just satisfy our physical hunger, but it's typically something we crave.
Oh, definitely.
Especially that Cheesecake Factory bread. That's so good. But he wants us to look at it in the way of Jesus now being the bread, something that we need to satisfy our spiritual hunger. And once it becomes this habit that we either do every day or weekly, start there by coming to church weekly or logging on to get onto GC 365, it becomes something we crave. And so my question for you, Dawn, is why is it important to be spiritually filled?
So I was very thankful this year that we did the year in a Bible in a year together as a congregation, because I had known that you leaders had done it in the past, and I was kind of a little bit jealous. And I joined toward the end of the year, and it's and I was not on the same page as you guys were on. It's but it was really nice that you guys gave the opportunity for everyone to join at the same time, because I've always wanted to do that. And it just seems like you're saying, it does feed the soul. It's just it's nice to read the Bible, because I've never read it before completely through. And this has now given me an opportunity to actually read it and enjoy it, and just kind of, it's oh yeah, I remember that story.
Yeah.
I remember that story. And it's this is great. Now I know where it's at in the Bible and everything. So to me, it makes me want to read even more and get more involved with it. And it pertains to everything that's happening in today's life. And I'm just amazed by that. It's like this book was written it was written so many years ago, and it's like it was written yesterday, because so many things are happening that happened way back then too. So it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you acknowledge it became something that you now crave to do, which I think is really good. And, even on those hard days or things like this, where you're like, okay, what's the point of it? It's still, you crave to do it, and you crave to read his word. And I agree with that. Well, the last part where we're going to end for today is in Proverbs 14:34 through 35. It says, godliness makes a nation great, but sin is a disgrace to any people. A king rejoices in wise servants, but is angry with those who disgrace him. In this small section, this is what I always love about the Psalms and Proverbs, is that they typically go all the way back and remind us of what we first read in the Old Testament. The godliness makes a nation great. Sin is a disgrace to any people. And as we read earlier, Israel was wanting a king. They were wanting this human strength and not God's strength. But what they needed to be great was godliness. And so it comes all the way back around. It's a reflection of what Israel needed again, but they didn't want that. Yeah. And it's also advice for us that still stands true, that we still need godliness to be a great nation. And I loved what you said earlier, if you want to share that, about bringing God back in.
So it's just like having... God's always been a huge part of my life, but just the fact that I hadn't, been involved with it on a daily basis, and then just being able to now, it's like I have a purpose. I can do this, and I can be in the Word and just be feeling so filled, if you will, with His Holy Spirit is just amazing, because now I kind of feel like I understand different stories better, and the fact that it's amazing how relevant it is.
Yes. Definitely. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. And again, we just want you to be encouraged by the leadership that you are doing here, either at Gold Creek, or you're probably a leader to somebody in their lives personally. So you're doing an amazing job, and we can't wait to see you again next Sunday.